are not anywhere near any of them. Do we deal with political issues? We're forced to do so. Do we deal with issues of our heritage, or which I would prefer to call our inheritance as Southerners? Of course we do. Do we deal with our history? Who won't study history won't know much. So yes, I mean, we do all these things. But look, those are not things in and of themselves, ends in and of themselves. Those are means which we use and incorporate and weave together toward a different end. And that different end is the preservation and advancement of our people, our land, and our civilization. In the League, we say that we stand for the survival, well-being, and independence of the Southern people. And let me tell you this, we know from everything we've heard here today so far, and things we've heard previously, that there is no avenue open to us and approved by the masses or approved by the establishment that will allow us to get to that point. We're going to have to blaze that trail ourselves, blaze it against opposition. You know, Tom mentioned something there. He said, well, you don't go asking your enemy permission to oppose them. You just do it. When you see an enemy in your way of a legitimate objective that you want to reach, and when I say a legitimate objective as a Christian, I mean something that God approves. You don't bow down before those people and say, well, I guess you blocked me, and I guess I'll have to pay obeisance to you by bowing the knee to you because you're between me and what I want to accomplish. And you barred every other way except right over you. No, what a Christian man does when he's got a legitimate goal in mind is he picks up his damn axe and he chops his way through the opposition. And that's what he's all about. So forget democratic politics. Forget it. It's not going to get you where you want to go. Now, America has made a fetish out of democracy. One man, one vote, universal suffrage, on and on and on. Voting majorities. Marshaled every 2 or 4 years elects the people who tell us what to do. Down the path to hell. Got to be a better way. Now, the better way is nationalism. The better way is nationalism. In our case, Southern nationalism. Now, what is nationalism or Southern nationalism? Well, first of all, I'm a big believer in the proper definitions of words, Steve, and using the right words. Because of Steve, I know words, I don't use a word like I hope too much anymore. No. This is something that we are not hoping will be done. This is something that is going to be done. We will do it with God's grace, of course, by God's grace. Nationalism. What is a nation? A nation is not a contiguous land mass with a government and the people. That's what you call a nation state. But what is the nation part of it? That is the people. The South is a nation right now. It's a nation without a state. or a stateless nation. But my nation is the Southern people. And by Southern people, I mean people who look like you. The Southern nation are white people. Blacks, Mexicans, all these other people. These are alien residents who live here. We are the Southern people. You know, I'm not a constitutionalist. I'm pretty much in the same boat with old Patrick Henry. But if I were a constitutionalist, I'll tell you something I could point to back up this idea of a nation being what our founding fathers intended for us to have. And that is because of one word or two words they use in that document. Our posterity. That doesn't mean anybody who can come here and accept the proposition that all men are created equal and baseball, apple pie, and Chevrolet are, you know, right there just below God. No, what it means a people, a distinct, historic people bound together by language, by culture, by their blood. That's what it means. That's a nation. So when I say I'm a Southern nationalist, I am a supporter of and a part of a real, true, honest to goodness nation of people. Now, the political entity, the state that I pledge my allegiance to right now is Alabama. And most of you are Floridians, and so Florida is your state. And I don't mean that in the normal sense of the term. I mean, it is your political organization that you owe first allegiance to. So we need to get our terminology correct here. I do not put any faith in the political process known as democracy, especially when the results of it to my nation. Am I saying that a free and independent South would never have any elections whereby people cast votes as individuals? No, not at all. That once we were free and independent, we would be able to redefine the idea of citizenship. And along with citizenship, right to vote. So we would make a fetish of universal democracy, and universal suffrage. We may still have elections, probably would, but they would be very restrictive. So don't think that I'm advocating something that would never see an election again. It would be quite the same, and certainly the outcome. And you know, I had a lecture one time said, well, you know, in your future South, you have an election and you've got a minority who loses, and they have the same ideas you do about when politics fail. Let them do what they think they need to do. I said, well, that would just create permanent chaos. And I said, well, it might, but what's the other alternative? Now, I think what it would create is very simply this. It would create an exodus. People leaving here. And see, that's the way it ought to be. Professor Gibbon, who wrote that magisterial, albeit very non-Christian, work on the fall of Rome, Edward Gibbon. In that book, which I read a long time ago, the curse of Rome was that a man could go from one end of the Mediterranean Sea, Pillars of Hercules, Straits of Gibraltar, all the way to Persia, and still not be out of the jurisdiction of the Roman Empire. Now that's tyranny. your feet because all of the known civilized world was under the control of one regime. As Mark pointed out earlier, you still got a union. You still got a union that was able to raise an army in 4 years of war, 150 years ago or so, and you would still have some sort of American union on the North American continent. So I have people asking me all the time, what would happen to all the black folks that didn't like your ideas of being ruled by, I said, they're free to leave. They got somewhere else they could go. And they probably would. And that would be better for them, and it would be better for us.
Yeah.
In these sorts of situations, or they also say, well, what about all the white liberals? Same thing. It's be better for them to get the hell out of here. And, you know, bye. Don't come back. You don't belong here. That's the way that a nationalist views all of the states of the world and all of their wonderful diversity.
Yeah.
That's true diversity.
Mm-hmm.
What we have in this melting pot, is not really diversity. So wouldn't it be really strange if it turned out that we, Southern nationalists, were really the group out there of diversity and multiculturalism? But what we're advocating here, having our own state for our own nation, where we can thrive as who we are, and granting the same rights and privileges and opportunities to other people who are different from us, sounds to me like the perfect situation.
Yeah.
Now, would there be conflict between states that were so different? Probably so. What else is new? There always was, and there always will be until Christ comes to tie that package up in a nice neat bow as promised in Psalm 2. So when we look at the situation, we're looking at it through the eyes of nationalists. And we're not looking at it through the eyes of egalitarianism or democracy or any of those poisonous ideologies that came out of the Enlightenment. And the Enlightenment period, of course, is when America was founded. And a lot of that poison rubbed off, even on our founding fathers. Now, that's one reason that we're not constitutionalists, is because that whole document was poisoned by that the sort of seepage out of that Enlightenment movement that came into America. And I used to think that there was a good deal of difference between the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and there was on the surface. Logical poison. And we have, and it's done nothing but become more malignant over the years. And that's why, as Mark has pointed out, Southerners don't fit in modern America and never will. Christian people, as a traditional people, as a people who remember their roots, going way back, we can't abide ingesting that poison that has been inherent in our political and social and cultural systems from the very beginning, back in the late 18th century. That's why the South, after knew that it had to leave. That's why by 1860, our ancestors knew it was time to leave. They knew they would never fit into this alien situation with this alien being. And look, it's gotten nothing worse. And if you think it's going to get any better, I mean, what evidence can you mark to tell me and convince me that it's going to ever get any better? Look, I've had Southerners tell me, look, it's just going to be too upsetting of everything in our lives to do what you want to do. It's just going to be too difficult a task. We would have to basically uproot everything and start over. Yeah, that's exactly right. But if you don't do that, your fate is sealed. It's already before your eyes. It's almost like a man in a canoe who all of a sudden rounds the bend and hears the roar and realizes that 500 yards ahead of him are a set of rapids that culminate in a waterfall. And he says, I got all my gear in the canoe. If I dump it out, I'm going to lose it all. I'm going to get drenched. I might drown. So I think I'm just going to sit here and take my chances going over there. It just doesn't make any sense. There comes a time in your life that you have to make a tough decision. Individually, we all know that. Why don't we know that as a people? Is it just that we have this forlorn hope that everything will turn out okay if we just close our eyes and wish hard enough? Apparently so. Or is it simply a matter of there being too much food in the refrigerator right now? And too much entertainment on the television. And we just don't feel the pinch hard enough yet. I think that has something to do with it. But look, we're not just sentient. We're not animals in the sense that the only senses that we have are physical sense. You know, we are a reasonable, rational creature. We ought to be able to project what's going to happen with some degree of accuracy by looking at the past and the present. And it's almost like we have our eyes closed because we do not want to consider what might be our end and what might be the remedies to avoid falling into that end. Both are going to be harmed. So what? You know, I've always liked the challenge. I have always liked the challenge for some reason. I think part of it had to do with my dad. When I was about 6 years old, he liked to start pushing my nose down in the dirt. We used to get together on Sunday afternoons and play football in the front yard, and all the kids from the neighborhood and their parents would come over, and the daddies, of course, who by that time were still in their 40s or early 30s, still, you know, good, fit men, strong men, would get out there and play with the boys. And my daddy always delighted in getting on me. I'd be lined up across with him, and the ball would be snapped, and I'd charge over and he'd push my face down in the dirt and rub it. And said, boy, you got to get tough. You know, if you're going to beat me, you got to get tough. And I'd get so mad. Well, I know why he would do what he would do. Exactly why he would do what he would do. And I thank him for it. But, you know, also, when I realized, for whatever reason, back about 24 years ago, I was going to try to do something like this, and I prayed to God he would give me some good men to help me, and he sure has. I like the sense of adventure about it too. Modern life. Now, I've never lived anywhere but here and now, but I have studied history, and I do have an imagination. And I have read a lot of stuff that allows me to understand how men used to live. And I found that the modern world was a very dull and sort of draining place. America. And I think part of it is because we had a little bit too much peace and prosperity. You know, God in the Old Testament tests his people constantly. And I asked Pastor John Weaver one day, I said, I should clear the way of Canaanites and Amalekites and all these people, who just, went with the word. So, but he had his people to fight him. And John said, well, it makes perfect sense to me. I said, what do you mean? He says, God wants his people to be sharp, to stay on guard, to be alert, to have an enemy to fight. I didn't see an enemy to fight in the modern world. I mean, I tried when I was a boy. I went to the gravel pit every day and fought Santa Ana. I can't tell you the number of Mexicans I killed in that damn gravel pit. And when I got older, the game just wouldn't do it. So I had to go off and find other things. But when I got to be in my early 40s, and obviously your knees start telling you that you're getting old and all kinds of stuff, you still have that boyish desire for adventure. So you combine all these things, and you get sort of an organization like the League of the South, I guess. And the thing is, look at the quality of the men in particular that come in, and I see they have those same desires and characteristics. They want not just an adventure. I mean, you can find an adventure by climbing Mount Everest. An adventure that means something, that has an end that is worthy, that has an end that is a godly thing, that has an end that will be good, a good thing for your people. Better thing can men we love and support be doing. And the modern world tells us that is foolishness. The modern world tells us to be a metrosexual, to be a good little slave, to do what you're told, to sit still in school. I'm here to tell you that we ain't sitting still. We're going to disobey the teacher. And we're going to be like little boys are. And if they don't like it, so when you have an attitude that, like boys that come in are supposed to have, and not lose, but develop. See, that when you're a little boy, you just want to run around and fight, wrestle and stuff. But see, when you get a little older, you start understanding why you need to be doing these things. And when you get real old, like me, this is what you revel in. So there's a lot more fun in being an nationalist than being a damn Democrat. So if I can't convince you that you need to be a nationalist about any other thing, I can promise you more adventure. And if you're the kind of men that I think you are, that alone ought to be enough of a pull to get you in and get you even more active. But seriously, and I mean, this is serious, but it's kind of playful. But I mean to sort of use that playful example as something very serious. Because, the modern world, which is in America, sort of qualified by our democratic political system, which I've heard people say, well, our democratic political system is a substitute for war. You know, war. If that's the only substitute that we can get for war, it's a damn poor substitute. I mean, why not go a step or two further? And that's what nationalism does. Nationalism will not accept the verdict of the democratic process that endangers the nation, our people. Now, I don't know how much clearer I can be than that. So if you are wedded to the democratic system, and by extension to America as she is and will be, then you've got to find something else. And what is it other than nationalism? You tell me. You're either going to be a nationalist or you're going to be wedded to the American democratic system. There is no in between. I guess you could go be a hermit somewhere and really sort of just, you know, disappear. But what kind of life is that? Not much of a choice. You can always be like the see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil monkey trio, but that won't get you anywhere. You're going to be dragged into this one way or the other. I've had people say, well, I'm not interested in that. Well, it's interested in you. It won't leave you alone. So you're going to have to make a choice. And look, I'm not the smartest man in this room by any means. I'm not even the smartest person in my house. My wife's very smart. But I know that. I know that there are only two ways. And I've racked my brain. You know, sometimes you can wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep and your brain really is kind of refreshed. And you think about all kinds of things. Well, I've thought through this problem many early mornings. And I can't find another option. We're either going to go down the path we're on right now as American, in the American democratic system, or we're going to be nationalists. One of the two. Now, which is it for you? Well, I know the answer to that. For you people out there who will be watching this on the internet, or wherever, or maybe, isn't there a live feed of this going out? That's great. I wish my brothers and sisters in Europe all the best, because you need nationalism now just as bad or more than we do. And I'm glad to see you nationalists rising up. Nationalism is going to save our people. Obviously, by the grace of God. I mean, I'm one as a Christian. I believe that God is in control of His creation. Things providentially. I pray that He will give us the ability to see this thing through. But I think He's given us the great blessing so far here in the South. Last approaching a quarter of a century. And I've had people say, well, a quarter of a century, you should have had your independence a long time ago. Well, maybe not. That's God's timetable, not ours. And I do know this. We're doing our duty. We're doing our duty. And I hope we're having a good time doing it. I hope we'll have an even better time. Because that's, you know, I think it's a joyful thing. Just to be able to fight for a good cause. What better thing can a man be granted than the privilege of fighting for a good, honorable, honest cause? And what better cause than the cause of your own blood, kin, and your own piece of ground that the Lord has given you? If you can fight for those things, I mean, if you can muster the courage and enthusiasm to fight for those things, I think you're dead. You're a dead man walking if you can't get excited about fighting for those things. So, Monica, how am I doing for time?
You're a little bit over, you're good.
I'm a little bit over, but I'm good. So that means that I'm not good. I don't want to cut into the dinner time here, so I'll finish this up by simply saying that for our self-preservation as a Southern nation, we're going to have to cast aside politics and the idea of the consent of the government. As long as we remain in this particular system, we're going to have to embrace a natural nationalism. And I believe that when I say natural, it is the thing that God has intended for us to have as a system by which to organize and live. We will no longer accept being ruled by aliens whose expressed desire is the destruction of our people, our nation. No man is called upon to do that. It is immoral. We will not kowtow to anybody. The Southern nation will be administered and tended to by Southerners in the interest of Southerners. Now, will that not be a glorious and blessed day when good Lord finally sees fit to give us? That it may come next week, it may come next year, it may come in 10 years, or it may not come in our lifetime. But we're laying the groundwork, God willing, for a movement that will extend beyond our generations to those generations yet to come. And one day, the South will have that most glorious place among the nations of the earth. And when that day comes, I just pray that even if I'm an old man, that I'll be aware of what's going on and be able to have at least a few days of my life in such a situation. May God save the South. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Hill, Mr. Davis, Mr. Tony, and thank each and every one of you for being here today. Before you all leave, you want to grab one of these packets? Yes. Yes. Go ahead, take one of these. I know y'all want to hurry, you got things to do, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right. Thank you.
We're sharing the afternoon.
This concludes the first portion of today's conference. As I had mentioned earlier, we're going to take a dinner break. We're planning on going up the road here to Mr. Chubby's wing place. They're always very accommodating for us. They always put a bunch of tables together for a huge crowd. And we can have our conversations up there about what we discussed today. Is there anybody else planning on walking out that door and not attending the business meeting this afternoon? If so, I want to make sure I give you one of these packets as a member. Everybody else is coming back? Excellent. Okay. I see we had a guest come in late. How did you hear about the League of the South? Marshall? Excellent. So you're a friend of Marshall's. Good, because when you came in here, I know if you're going to cause us trouble or not. I was thinking about what we're going to do about it. You're a big old boy. Good. Thanks for bringing your friend, Marshall. All right, folks. We're running a little bit late. I would not leave any valuables in this room, but I am going to have the head of the library lock the room up.